All right, good morning, everyone. Yes, not sure what happened to that intro. Probably got cut off a little bit, but Paul Trani here. I'm going to dive into getting started in Adobe XD. So welcome, everyone. Good to have you, Samuel, Socal, Andy, Wakwar as well. Paul Trani diving in, and hopefully everybody's having a good day. Yes, it is a Monday morning. Good time, so I'm going to take a drink of this coffee. Oh man, I needed that. All right. So if you're joining me on YouTube, hop over to behance.net/live. That'd be great. Awesome. Jason Rose in the house. Good to have you here. Fantastic. Ready to learn. You're going to learn a lot. So I'm so glad you're here. Always busy, Ashy, by the way. Yeah. I had a full weekend of stuff going on. So anyways, you'll see some more of that coming up soon. But right now we're going to talk about Adobe XD. So we're going to dive into this right now. Tim, good to have you here, buddy. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about, you guessed it, UX and UI, Adobe XD. You can see that's what we have going on this week. We have Jesse Showalter, basically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's all Adobe XD, all UX, all UI, all week long, just so you know, and kicking it off this morning with this stream. So you can see we have Jesse Showalter, Anna Medina, and Brent Davidson. Now, if you're on Behance, you can check out Schedule tab. You can see and kind of see a little bit more about them, but they're cool designers, and it's going to be a good time. All right. Awesome. Good to have you here. Cool. Well, I want to talk more specifically, actually, about good old plugins, if that works for you. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. You can see plugins in Adobe XD are going to help you get jump started with any sort of design work that you might have. Okay, so hello. Always curious as to hear where you're from. I'm here in beautiful Denver, where it's kind of overcast, to be honest with you. But let me know where you're from, other than your house, Michael. You're hilarious. All right, so thank you so much to Kathleen for her Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. Yes. Cool. Not sure why, the stream does not look good to you, Anders. Check the internet connection. Knoxville in the house, Chicago. All right, let's dive into this. Again, all this stuff to help you get up to speed quickly, right? So that's what I'm referring to, okay? You typically start at home, and you can click on any one of these sort of blank artboards is where you typically start. But also I want to dive into like really everything you need to know about getting started quickly. So you have, under add-ons, you have a couple things. You have plugins, UI kits, and then some app integration. Okay, I want to kind of talk on plugins, but I don't want to avoid UI kits. So right here, if I select UI kits, just like I did a second ago, you can see it will open up that particular resource page. You can see right down here as I scroll through a number of these UI kits to get started quickly. And I will use these just for inspiration because I think they're designed really well, just so you know, okay? Tanzania is in the house. Good to have you here. All right, so that's what I will typically do. Is kind of check out kind of what we have in here. So I'm going to make something. In fact, I'm just going to download Tractive from Cody Brown. This is how everything works, even, any particular template file that you want to use. You can download it. You can see this one's about 60 megs, and you'll see that here in a second. Boom, boom. And again, if you want to get jump started quickly, good old Cody Brown. I forget where he's based. I want to say San Diego. But this is a good place to begin, and I'm going to talk about plugins in a second, but I can start with some of these as just like a template to get me up and running quickly, okay? And since I actually already have something created, kind of based on one of the templates already, this is what I'm going to use, all right? So this is just the project that I'm going to use to showcase some awesome plugins if that works for you. All right, Gulea, not sure how to say your name, just want to welcome you. But let's dive into this right now because I have this case. In fact, let's do this. I have a lot going on here. I have a number of particular artboards, things like this. I think one thing I'm waiting for XD to have is an all caps. Just like give me a button right over here, right, to make this all caps, because I decided for these headers I want them to be all caps. And sure enough, I want to go ahead and find that. So go to File, New, here's that same menu, go to Add-ons, right down here to Plugins, and I can see a number of plugins right in here. Okay, and that's typically what I would search for. You can go ahead and peruse all these, but typically it's around something that you might feel is missing in your workflow, and then see if you have it out here. So it would be all caps is what I'm going to search for. Or let's do capitalization. Okay, there's apparently nothing. I know it actually is out there because I already have it loaded. But let's potentially just grab any one of these. Typically I'll look at the details. Mask fit is a command-like plugin that allows fitting images to their mask. Okay, so that might work out pretty well. And that just gets rid of any manual labor that I might have to do. So I'll go ahead and install mask fit. I have pattern maker, I have polygons, I have selection. And again, another feature, this is a good one too, bullets. You can add bullets basically to any text item. So again, it might kind of fill in some potential gaps that you might have in your workflow, is why you'd use plugins. And it's not to say that they're not coming soon. Is it called Upcase? All right, well, I already do have it installed. In fact, it's right over here. It's called Change Case. That's the name of it. Again, File, New, you can go into add-ons. I just like viewing it in here because it's easy to see. Change Case. There it is. And again, it looks like you can also update it, disable it, enable it, all that good stuff. But that's one of the things that I want to do. But I'm going to cover some of my best ones, my favorite ones. Yeah, so Andy, you bring up a good point. Sometimes plugins might not work with repeat grid. You might have to break it up somehow. And that's just kind of the nature of the beast. I've just discovered that recently. All right, so I really like a couple others that I'm going to highlight, but I encourage you to check out all these. All right, and I'm going to dive into this right now. So let's go in here, let's select this text. I'll kind of go across all of these artboards by selecting them and going to plugins. Here's the ones that I have installed. Here's Change Case, you guessed it. I can have a shortcut for that as well. Just like that, boom, keeps me from typing that in. Thank you so much, plugins. Again, something that I would expect to have over here. And I'm pretty sure they're working on it. So someday it is just going to be a button away, okay? And our goal at Adobe is not to take jobs away from anyone, but we wanted to open this up, open plugins up, so you have options for any workflow that you're working on. So that looks good. All caps done. That's uppercase. I could do the same for this one right over here. Plugins. Let's go to Change Case, uppercase, right? And keep in mind, you can see that it literally changes it to all uppercase, as you can see, right? Just like that. Let me go through some of these fonts as well. Kind of need to change this a little bit. This is my app, so it's all about, it's basically a fashion and clothing site. Let's kind of change the font to something else. Right over here, there we go. It's back to how it was. Now what I want to do with this image right here is I actually want to fill it with an image, right? I'm thinking a cool image in the background just to kind of say what this app is all about for the splash screen. So I'll just kind of draw out a rectangle and I want to fill it with an image. Sure enough, again, plugins, there's actually a couple out there. So check this out. Photo Splash is what I might use, because all I need is a quick photo for this mock-up. Going out to Photo Splash, I'm going to skip that whole entry onboarding, but basically right up here I want to do fashion. Searching that, sure enough, I get a number of images from Unsplash that I can kind of sort through and potentially use. Let's find a good one. Something not too crazy. Kind of like this black and white one. Kind of like this one. Kind of like this one. All right, so I'm going to grab this black and white one right here. Since I have that container selected, it's of course going to fill it, and then I can go ahead and do what I need to do, send it back, have that kind of fill that frame. All right, find any image that you want, really, Anel, just so you know. There we go. We can make this look very fashionable. It's kind of looking very high-end with this black and white photo, right? Easy enough. Fashion. It's called fashion. All right, so that's what we have. Let's actually take another look. Since you're kind of liking the images, I need to use images a lot. We can go into, something else. Let's go into this. Let's select a number of containers now. Now that we're further into our app, I'm like, okay, well, I really need a lot of images, at least 6 right in here for this particular case. I'm going to go to plugins. I'm going to go down to Photo Splash again. This time, I'm going to search on shirts. Find photos. Let's see if anything says shirts out there to me. Right, and it's actually checking all of them, but I'm going to go through and just pick out certain ones that I might want to include right there. Boom, this one, not that one, not that one, this one as well. I really only need 6, and it's going to fill it accordingly. Okay, just like that. I have 5 selected, 6, there we go. Let's click apply. It's going to apply all those appropriately. Easy enough, right? Super easy, yeah? All right. Cool. All right, we have this squared away. I used all caps right here. I used the uppercase one right over here, by the way. So again, plugins. Went through, change case, photo splash. I kind of want to take it to the next level since I'm talking about images and I'm really filling out this design, okay? And what I'm getting to right over here is like some of the profile images. I need some like top contributors for this particular screen. So I can actually select all of these circles, as you can see. I'll go to plugins down to UI faces. And then right over here, I get to pick, check out this plugin. Keto, you aware of this, Ashi? Right? UI faces. I can say, hey, give me from Unsplash, Pexels, Diverse UI, Tiny Faces, even IMDb, which is interesting, even our users. But go ahead and pull from these different sources. This is the age range. This is the gender, emotion, hair color, all of that. I'm going to go with actually all of them. I'm a little bit concerned about IMDb because I don't know if I have a release form for them, so I'm just going to uncheck that one. And the emotion is just going to be happiness. So that's all I'm going to pick. You can narrow it down this as much as you want, but I'm also going to randomize all these results as well. So apply faces. It goes through 13 of the, okay, and I'm glad this happens. So sometimes it'll have an issue pulling from a particular source, right? It says 13 out of the 15 selected objects were filled with avatars. And I've had cases where it actually might not have enough images to pull from depending on your selections. So UI faces, let's go down here and let's just turn off happiness, which sounds sad to me. And then just apply to those last two. Done. There's my top contributors. Cool, easy enough. Well, welcome. We want you to follow along as well. And just check something. All right. So that's what we have so far right here. Easy enough. Okay. That came from UI faces. Let's kind of tackle some more things. Just some common tasks that you typically do. And that's what you need to look at this. You need to say, hey, you know, what do I typically do on a regular basis? That's just kind of annoying. Like there has to be an easier way around it. Well, just look, File, New, under Add-ons into the plugins, right? And again, there's a number I've already installed. I'm going over my favorites. I want to know if you have favorites as well. A lot of these are really straightforward, right? You probably know what Bullet does, right? I think selection is fascinating, right? So imagine a case where you went through, maybe you created a bunch of icons or a bunch of assets, and you need to change them all, and you need to select them in certain ways. Well, that's what selection does. It's really cool, and I'm going to dive into that right now. Let's go ahead and open up a different file, something that's a little bit more complex, right? We have all these different icons. They look actually pretty similar. I'm like, okay, you know, I need to, you know, consolidate these down to just a couple colors, right? Say, for instance, this is a really light, that's a really light pink right there, right? And I need to shift it over maybe to this color, okay? Here's this color right here, okay? So I really need to select all objects with this particular fill color. There's a number of colors that look like they're close. So I go to plugins, we'll go down to selection, and these are all the options you get for selection. Check this out. Whether you want to select on I encourage you to go down to global, because this is going to do it at a global state across all of your artboards, okay? And that's what I want to do. So fill through your border color, size, fill and border as well if you want to get really specific. So think about this. Anytime, so in Illustrator we introduced like global editing. It's not quite to that level, but it's closer to the selection options that you get in Illustrator, okay? So that's what I'd want to do. Go down here, let's go down to Fill Global. So that's what I've selected, all the objects that have that same fill color, and sure enough, I can switch those over to white or whatever color that I want, as you can see, right? You can see that it's selected all of those. And again, my whole goal was to really just have two colors of this pink. I can go ahead and make them that color. So if I do this again, I select that same object, say, hey, you know what? Now let's select the fill color globally. It's going to select all of those that are the same color, and I'm actually slowly getting them all, again, the same color if I want to. You get the idea. I just find that really useful because I know sometimes I've, you know, kind of made some designs, and further on down the line, I'm like, okay, I need to change everything. And this is a good way to select everything, to change it. So again, selections. Let's move on from there. How's everybody doing today? What app is this? Well, this is Adobe XD. As you may or may not know from the title, this is getting started with plugins in Adobe XD, as you can see, and they help you jumpstart any design work. So going into add-ons, what we first added were UI kits. You could see them here. That's what I've been using. And then what we did later on, actually, probably about 4 months ago, we added plugins, plugins basically. And we call everything add-ons, but specifically plugins, right? And here's another thing that, like, maybe I don't want to launch Illustrator to just make a simple polygon. And polygons can actually be pretty complex, but that's obviously what this will do as well. And I want to get into Pattern Maker as well. Let's get out, zoom out here. Let's get rid of that. Let's kind of draw out. Actually, I don't even need to draw out anything. I'm just going to select this artboard. I'm thinking, okay, I want to put something behind that check mark. That's something different than a circle or a square. So I'm going to go to Plugins, right over here, to Polygons. You guessed it. I don't need to launch Illustrator to make this happen, which is nice. And I can go into and say, hey, you know what? Let's make it rhombus, right? Done. There's that diamond pattern, which actually looks pretty cool. I'm going to move that over to the side. I'm going to talk about that later, but you could obviously see what it does in this case. So I'm going to go to Selection. Let's go to Polygons. Let's go to Hexagon. You get it. You get the idea of what it does. So Andy, it will select all the items with that color. Back when I'm referring to the selection plugin, it'll select all those items with that color if they're on different artboards if you select global. Okay, so yes, that's what we'll do. It'll work if they're across different boards. Just do global is all you need to do. So again, right in here, if you just want to select on that artboard or globally across all of your artboards, that's really what you're going to want to do anyways. All right. So I have that done. Let's go over here. Send it back. Zoop. And that works for this particular design. Let's go over here now. Let's take a look at this and let's kind of move this off of this fancy little cart. Let's try something. I'm thinking, okay, what if I could do something different to make a more interesting background? Just taking this shape, I'll go to Plugins and I'm going to go to Pattern Maker. Right? So this is one thing we can do as well. We can make 3 rows and 3 columns of this. We could do 9 rows. Let's do 5. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns roughly. And then let's do 9 rows. Okay, and we can put this in a grid and give it a certain amount of padding. I'll click OK. Sure enough, it does exactly what it needs to do in that case. I think pattern actually is a lot like repeat grid. So in this case, I could have just used repeat grid and would have gotten the same result. So repeat grid, tiling that out and bringing that down. Okay. So pattern is one of those that I wanted to point out. Like it's pretty good. I could probably make patterns with repeat grid. Okay. So maybe I want to go ahead and manage my plugins. So I want to get rid of Pattern Maker. Manage plugins right out here. Here's all my installed plugins. Here's Pattern Maker. Since I know Repeat Grid can do this now, I can go ahead and uninstall Pattern Maker. Just like that. Right. Awesome. I haven't even gotten to my favorite plugin, like the one that I think is like super powerful. By the way, there's a couple really awesome ones. Thing is like I feel like there's new ones popping in up here every day. This is from a month ago. World Ready. Haven't had a chance to work with that one, but again, you can just see sort of these newer ones that literally this one was launched today. This one that I have installed. Mask Fit is a command that allows fitting images to their mask. And by the way, if you're interested, I would love to kind of show you how to make plugins, at least the basics of it. All right, it's gonna require some coding, but if you've ever written a plugin, it's like no different from any other resource. All right. Maria, to answer your question, for the grid, you can change the padding as well. Okay, but again, this is repeat grid. That's all I'm using here. I'm using repeat grid to do this. Just to recap right over here with this object selected, I'm going to make it smaller like that. Right up here, repeat grid is what I'm going to pick. Selecting right there, tiling that out, columns and rows as you'd expect, just like that. And then yes, you can adjust the spacing of both as I'm doing now, taking that down to 0, taking this down to 0 so it touches as well. Like that. Done. And now we have Nice little like Harlequin pattern. We'll send this to the back, send to back, and then actually we'll adjust the opacity. There we go. All right, we've got a coder in the house. Fantastic. We can dive into, there's more plugins I want to talk about. Let me talk about one more for sure, because I think this one's like super cool. Let me talk about two more. Again, just kind of highlighting my favorites. So here's the icon that I have for this app. It's called Fabric. That's the name of this app. And now I need to knock out an icon for iOS, Android, like all these different platforms. With this artboard selected, keep in mind this is just like, you know, average size, 100 pixels by 100 pixels. Go into plugins. And app icon generator. Again, something you're going to need to do when it comes to, of course, creating apps. Let's kind of point to the desktop is where we're going to put this. We're going to keep it simple. And then go ahead and make, get this, icons, all these different sizes, boom, 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 for these different platforms. So we'll just call this Fabric like that. Give it an optional file name. This will do. Let's capitalize this. There we go. Click export. Icons have been created successfully. Let's go out to my desktop. Sure enough, here it is. You get the idea. Let's go on iOS. Makes all these icons. Okay. I like this because it knocks out so many graphics so easily, which is great. That way you don't have to make a bunch of different artboards at different sizes. Okay, easy enough. Let's do one more. This is my favorite one. You ready here? This is awesome. Let's go and take a look. Let's go right over here. Okay, so let's just say I can make a repeat grid, by the way. Of a city. So this will be like a city, and I can do a repeat grid, but I really need a number of cities, and I don't want to have to retype things, and I know I can grab it and drag in a text file, but what I want to do is I want to pull from a Google Sheet to be able to fill the different locations, right? So let's go out there, let's go to plugins and Google Sheets. Awesome. So you can actually have a Google Sheet that somebody else could maintain that you can then update your Adobe XD file with. So I'm going to go into paste public link, and actually I could walk you through this whole process. Let's do it right now. Let's just do this. Paste public link, pasting in that link, and let's take a look at this link right now really fast. Let's go out. Here's just a simple Google Sheet. So I'm just adding places. Somebody give me another. Who else is from a US city? I'm going to add it. Give me another name of a US city and I will add it as I'm doing now. Let's do Boston. So, Washington, D.C. You get the idea. Thank you. Chicago. Chicago in the house. Mesa? All right, let's do Mesa. We can go on and on. This is nice. Just doing cities right now. Thank you for Georgia there. But Portland, one of my favorite cities. Seattle, you got it. Sedona. Let me know if you're from a U.S. city, and I'm typing it in. Bethesda, Maryland. Awesome. All right, we got it all kind of coming right behind my head. So what I did is I just added this all under United States, and then I could do Germany, France. I could do anything that I want. But as I populate this, I want to just dump this data right into that Google Sheet. So I'm going to copy that link. I'm going to go out to my Google Sheets, where you're going to paste in that URL. Pasting it in, clicking continue. Now keep in mind what I have selected. I'd love to move this over, but it says, hey, there's a city text field, there's an ellipse, and there's a couple rectangles in there. But I want to map the city to the United States column. Okay, let me just cancel out of this because I have to scoot it over. Like that. There we go. Plugins, Google Sheets, paste public link. There it is. Click continue. Oh, cancel. Oops. See, it all depends on what's selected. Just to point out what's being selected in here, inside of this group, we have the city text field, an arrow, some other shapes, a divider. I'm just selecting the whole thing because I want the whole thing to repeat. We'll go down to plugins, Google Sheets, paste in that link, map city to United States, click apply, and it applies it. Okay. Now you ready for this? I'm going to select this. I'm going to go to repeat grid. We know that it will repeat that name plenty of times. Let's close the gap on these because I want to make sure I get everybody's little cities in there. Let's grab that. Let's get this. Let's unlock this. Boop. I want to try to get everybody's cities in there. There we go. Let's lock this. I'm going to see what happens if I just select this whole repeat grid. Boom. I can select that whole repeat grid again. Map city, which is currently says Denver, map it to United States, click apply, and then it propagates on down. You get the idea. Okay. So let's take this a step further. Zoop, move that over, click done. Atlanta. Somebody added Atlanta, so let's do that. Let's insert one above. So right after Denver is going to be Atlanta. Just like that. I don't have to save it or do anything. I can go over here to this repeat grid, to my plugins, Google Sheets, and right over here I can refresh content. So where it says San Francisco, that's going to get moved down and it's going to add Atlanta. Boom, there it is. It refreshes. Cool. Easy enough. Easy enough. Yeah, you don't need to use all the Google Sheet options. That's one column. By the way, just if I point that out once more, if I go back in here, you can load in a CSV file. Obviously, I can change it to any one of the other columns. That's all I'm showing you. By the way, this was actually, you ready for this? We actually had a sneak at Adobe Max 3 years ago for XD, and it's Anirudh who snuck it, and basically it was this plugin, right? And here we are, 3 years later, and it's actually a plugin that somebody's written. So this is pretty cool. Anyways, he's a smart guy. That's all I want to say. I want to probably move this stuff in. There we go. Boop. Now everybody's happy. I know I am. Command 2, Command 3. There we are. Fantastic. Let's move on to some other things. What's some other things that we need to do as we're laying this out, right? I'm starting to fill this out with content, okay? In some case, maybe the real content, maybe fake content, right? Usually it's going to be just fake content because it's just a mock-up, right? And we can kind of go through some of this. We can see this spot right here. I might want to fill this with some text. I'm just going to move this over, change this to an area text field, move this down. And what I want to do is rather than blah, blah, blah. I could use a Google Sheet, or what I could use, you have it in other apps, as we have lorem ipsum right up here, right? So again, another case where typically I'd copy from the web, from lipsum.com, but here I can just say, hey, you know, let's just fill this with placeholder text. I could do my last settings, by the way, but let me show you. Lorem ipsum, standard. I've never used some of these others, like Pangram, Cicero. Maybe you're familiar with them. You know, insert text. It does the obvious, fills in that text with lorem ipsum. Angle. Yeah, there's angle as well. Let's talk about angle. So actually, let's do angle right now. Okay, I'm sorry I don't have a mock-up right now, but let's just take this. I'm saying, hey, you know what? This screen, this category, this category latest screen, it's looking pretty good, and I want to see how it looks potentially on a phone. I'm so sorry I don't have a phone in here, but let's start it even more basic. This is even easier, but here's a rectangle. For this rectangle, it's going to be like at an angle, the angle of a phone, okay? Something like that. Okay, we have this nice angle for this phone. I'm skewing it a little bit more so it's not absolutely parallel, but we can see that I'm kind of just distorting it like so. But really what I want to do is I want to take this screen and put it inside of this skewed object. Okay, so with that object selected, I'll go to Plugins, I'll go to Angle, and I will go to Apply Mockup. So right up here, Angle, Apply Mockup. And I'm going to say, hey, for that screen that I just made, the category's latest, which is just below it, use that as the source and fill it in. So it's going to do a pixel density, it's going to give me a quality. So I basically think it's kind of creating a snapshot and then placing it in there. Okay. So with that done, oh, there we go. We have a place to buy mockups. That's where it's coming from. Interesting. Buy mockups. So again, click apply. It's going to take this artboard and place it inside of there, as you can see, just like that. Cool. Thank you for bringing that up. Good thing I didn't. Yeah, so Andy brings up a good point. You know, eventually will XD have lorem ipsum baked in and some of these other features baked in. I know we have some things already in the works. In fact, I want to point out, if I go to provide feedback, I'll be able to see what we're working on, at least what's been requested that we're working on. And I'm sure in here there's going to be, you know, in all caps. Let's just check this real fast. Drop caps and style, all caps. Okay, so there's features under review. All caps, all lowercase. This is a feature that's under review right now in that instance. So again, you got it. So again, until then, I can use that plugin. I think that's going to be coming soon. What's up, Alexander? Good to have you here. Fantastic. So this is actually working out pretty well. There's probably other plugins that let's see, what else did I feel like I just installed Mask Fit. We understand how bullets work. I've covered most of these, which again, it's all about, personas. Personas is interesting. You ready for this? Personas. We already kind of selected images from, was it UI? What's it called? UI faces. I'm going to go to personas. Personas is a little bit more robust in that you're going to get a whole template that you're going to choose from. So I can select this middle one right here, that template of people, for people, English, portrait style, real, click finish, zoom out, and you can see it created these, or gave me these 4 personas right here. Okay. Again, this is personas, helping me get up to speed quicker. Let's go on. Let's go a little bit further from this. I second the dark theme as well. Kita, yes. Let's start a dark theme revolution. Okay, so all this week, speaking of which, we have, it's all about UI and UX this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And just let them know in chat saying, hey, we want dark mode. And more importantly, you can actually upvote it on user voice. But this is the schedule of what's happening this week. I have about 10 more minutes, so I'm going to move along. I'm going to show you how to make plugins, okay? At least I'm going to get as far as I can when it comes to making plugins, right? Okay, plugins right up here. Here we are. We have create a plugin right down here at the bottom. Okay, create a plugin. All right, so this is one that I actually have in development, by the way. Here we go. If I click to IO console, this is actually the plugin that I'm working on, okay? Typically this would not be here. Let me go right over here. So I'm just gonna click on right over here. New plugin, this is all you need to do. So create a plugin, click new plugin. No, I don't wanna do that. I'm so sorry. I actually have this already bookmarked and I can give this to you. But basically it's all about plugins in XD. What you need to get to is the documentation right here. And this is what I can post. So Adobe XD platform.com. An overview of creating plugins, you get an idea of what to build and the skills you need. So just so you know, it's written mostly in JavaScript. There's some HTML and CSS in there as well. And then you can optionally use React, which I've never used. So from there, it's going to take, in fact, I kind of want to dive into it really fast. Going back to that screen that we'd initially get to. Yours might be different. Since I've already started a plugin, I wonder if it's different for me. Create a plugin, new plugin, give it a name. We'll call this one Catify, because I know that name is probably not taken. So the idea for this plugin is to take all your images that you have selected and replace them with kittens, which would be cute, right? So you can download the starter project. You're going to see what that looks like. Very simple. And then you need to check in a plugin name availability. Catify. Let's check availability. Oh, it's available. Perfect. Catify is going to be available. You'll see these are the basic files available. As I unzip them, you can have your JSON, which is basically going to, this is your manifest that should, actually I might be able to change that or open it with text. This is just your basic manifest file pointing to different icons and everything that you need, right? And then here's your main JavaScript file that you write everything in. As I open that, again, with just a simple text editor to save us time. Right, so that's what it is. You just write JavaScript. That being said, you should actually be able to take a plugin and then look at the code for a plugin that you've potentially downloaded, which would also be fascinating. Again, I haven't gotten that far. And this is getting a little deep, but I'm kind of going into these other folders that I could kind of pick apart. But anyways, that's getting a little deep. I'm basically just pointing out you need some JavaScript skills and just follow along. All it is creating a plugin and then putting it where it needs to go in the develop folder. And then you have a developer console that you can use as well. So this just helps you sort of test your various plugins as you get it going. and that's how that is done. Okay. Oftentimes you need to reload a plugin, so you'll make changes, reload it, use that developer console to debug it until you get it just right. So that's the short of it. Cool. All right. But again, as I'm looking at all of these plugins, as I go out here to discover plugins, there's literally plugins popping up every day. Today alone, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plugins that were just added today alone, which is fascinating. Oh, that's fascinating. You can actually just paste in a URL and it will load in the image from that URL is what this one does. So you get the idea. I'm going through all my installed plugins. We've gone through all of these, including personas. Color Ranger was the only one I did not. Let's try this. This will be the last one as I kind of wind down. I have about 5 minutes left. Let me know if you have questions. Looks like Emmanuel's giving some code advice. Yeah, there's lots of resources out there. Again, just kind of pointing you in the right direction. I'm going to go into this. I'm going to take a look. Let's see if I can select all these assets right here. Because I'm not crazy about this blue. It doesn't match my theme. So I'm going to go into Color Ranger. And you can pick the item that you want. You can use presets. You get it. Click here to begin. All right. So I selected all of those. Looks like to change the color, I need to actually upgrade, which is a thing that happens with plugins, like the same with apps. But you can see I can turn up the brightness all the way like that. And maybe take the saturation down, but you can see how it's changing the brightness and saturation, and it looks like I need to upgrade to the Pro version to unlock changing colors. So that's a thing that is happening. Cool. All right. Oh, Siobhan Fraser, thank you so much, everybody, for the tips and everything. There's Code Academy, Udacity as well. Fantastic. So there's ways to write plugins out there. And that is, that is what I have for you. I do also want to point out, since we're upgrading XD at a rapid rate, just keep in mind, of course, everything that you can currently do with it, including, the assets panel. So just typically, if you want to do something, just check to see if it's there first, right? Like if I wanted to change or highlight this text within my assets panel, I can right click and say, hey, reveal the character style in assets, right? Or what if I want to highlight on canvas everywhere the title is being used? It highlights it everywhere. Okay, so keep that in mind. We keep adding to XD, so just because it doesn't exist and there's not a plugin, chances are it will work or it will be coming if you need it. As I shift that color a little bit like that, you can see it changes it everywhere. You get the idea. Elodie, Killer Studios, good to have you here as well. I know you guys are on YouTube, and you can always jump over to goodoldbehance.net/live and hang out with me. All right. Let me know if you have any more questions. I think the only one that I didn't cover is bullet points. But again, you kind of know what bullet points do. It's not even that interesting to me, to be honest with you. I can this a place. Let's change that font really fast using my shoop. I've not used it yet. I'm going to select this. Let's go to bullets. Let's make them round. You can see it added one right there. And looks like it will do it for the first element. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this. Let's get rid of this here and that there. Let's select both of these and then add bullets that are square. it adds them accordingly, right? What I typically do in this case is I would probably have this one asset, use repeat grid, tile that on down like that would be the easier way to go. Okay, if this is not there, tiling that down like that. Let's see what happens here. Pushing this to its limits. Let's go round. Yeah. I would probably tile this down and then I would ungroup this grid with all those elements selected. Then I'd go to bullets and then add round like that, and it adds all of them. You get the idea. It's all pretty straightforward, I think. And yes, fantastic. So let me know if you have any more questions. This week we have a pretty cool lineup of XD, UX, UI pros. Yeah, so that's another thing, Eric. Like, you can't control the spacing that happens in here, but I know, so that's the thing. Like, chances are, if it exists in Photoshop or Illustrator, right, we can add bullet points in Illustrator and not in Photoshop, but any sort of text editing app, we can add bullet points just like we can add uppercase. Okay, so chances are this is going to be one of the things that could easily come around down to into XD, but I have not checked the roadmap for that specifically, so I'm not giving away any information. Right? Try confetti. Okay, Vahid, I will try confetti. You got it. I know you mentioned that earlier, like at the very beginning. Let's go to Discover Plugins. Let's go to confetti. Here we are. All right, let's install it right now. We're doing it. I'm going to be live on the Illustrator Facebook page today as well, just so you know. Let's go right over here. Here's confetti. Love the icon. Super fun. Selecting that. Okay, so it works with items that are selected that are on an artboard. We'll select confetti. Oh, my bad. It's not an artboard, that's why. Whoop. Zoop. There we are. Let's do this one more time. Last time, we're down to the last 2 minutes. We'll do confetti just for fun. And this is the randomization and everything that I was talking about. Columns, rows, randomize opacity. All right, we'll just click run. There we are. Okay, so it's a randomizer is what it comes down to. Let's change this color. And let's do this one more time. Oh, sorry. Select the object, confetti, 6 columns, 6 rows, randomize opacity, randomize rotation, randomize scale. We're randomizing everything. Run it. And there you have confetti. Yay! Hooray! Fantastic. Fantastic. Cool. Well, I am winding down. Thank you so much for that last suggestion. I can actually probably layer more confettis. What's the plural for confetti? Confetti. But I can layer a couple of these on one another as I randomize this again. You get the idea. But that's it for me. I'm going to let you go and be respectful of your time. I was only going to go for an hour, down to like the last minute. I'll remind you of the schedule as well. We have Jesse, Showalter, Anna Medina, Brent Davidson as well. Coming up this week in the Adobe Studios. I will not be there. I'll be here broadcasting from good old Denver, Colorado in this high-tech studio that we have here in Denver. So thank you so much. Don't forget, you also have those UI kits available to jumpstart your design. And the next update to Adobe XD is coming super soon. Super soon. Yes, technically it's 11:54. Yeah, I have, I could take up full 6 minutes, I guess, if I want to, right? Usually if there's a stream going right after me, we have to cut this right, within the minute, I'd say. But just so you know, we do have an update coming really soon. In fact, if you take a look at past updates, we should be able to kind of tell Adobe XD updates when the last release was, which might give us a clue as to when the next release is. Okay, so our last release, let me just switch over to my screen, was on February 8th, right? And now we're down to March 11th. Okay, so there's one in January, but February 8th. So think of one coming very soon, just FYI. So that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you. And just send me a message, actually, follow me on Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff. PTRANI on Instagram. I'll be doing some art today, some illustration work, actually something concerning fonts and manipulating type on the Adobe Illustrator Facebook page today. So thanks so much. Yes, basically a new release is coming very soon. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate you. Have a beautiful day, and we'll see you soon. Thanks so much.